Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Yana Johnson, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 1, Joanne Davey. We warmly welcome the family of Private Henry St. Eloy Dalton, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. Please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was a vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they love, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths of floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Henry St Eloy Dalton. Known to his friends and family as Harry, Henry Dalton was born on the 10th of April 1888 at Nil, Victoria. He was the eldest son and second child of Anne and St Eloy Dalton. A keen sportsman, Henry was involved in cricket, coursing, rowing and long-distance running, but his passion was rifle shooting. His talent at the rifle range paid off in 1911 when he took out a bronze medal in the Victorian Rifle Association shoot. When Australia's involvement in the First World War was announced, Henry was the Secretary of the Shire of Dimboola and Honorary Secretary of the Rifle Club. He was one of the first volunteers from Dimboola, travelling to Horsham to enlist in the Australian Imperial Force on the 17th of August 1914, as it was not possible to enlist at Dimboola at the time. Henry's brother Charles enlisted 10 days later, and they would serve together at Gallipoli in the 8th Australian Battalion, which was raised within a fortnight of the start of war. A week after his enlistment, Henry was in camp at Broadmeadows. After a few months of rudimentary training, the 8th Australian Battalion, attached to the 2nd Brigade, left Australia, headed for Egypt. Following a brief stop in Albany, Western Australia, the battalion arrived in Egypt on the 2nd of December. The men trained in Egypt before being transported to Lemnos Island in early April in preparation for the Gallipoli campaign. After landing at Anzac Cove on the 25th of April at about 10 a.m, Henry Dalton was shot by a sniper while helping to dig a trench. He was evacuated onto the hospital ship Siang Chun, but died of his wounds some days later and was buried at sea the following day. He was 27 years old. Private Henry Dalton's loss was deeply mourned in Dimboola. Shop windows and Shire offices were draped in black, Union Jacks were lowered to half-mast, and messages were telegraphed to his family. A memorial service was held at St Peter's Church in Dimboola, where many tributes were paid. During a meeting of the Dimboola Shire Council, Henry Dalton was eulogised, and the council decided to erect a memorial in the Shire offices. A handsome white marble tablet framed with polished red gum wood was later affixed to the wall of the council chambers. Henry's brother Charles was killed in action on the Gallipoli Peninsula on the 6th of August 1915 when a shell exploded in his trench. Anne and St Eloy Dalton had lost both of their sons in a matter of months. Henry Dalton's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among more than 60,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. Henry is standing next to his brother Charles. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Henry St Eloy Dalton, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We'll leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere, or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they'll be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and we wish you all a very good evening.